Well, good afternoon to all of you, Admiral Tidd, ladies and gentlemen. This ceremony has special importance for Colombia, but for me also. You know that in politics, they say that you show your love or your appreciation through the budget. In the military, you know better than I do, the way to express some sentiment, especially when courage, valor, friendship, is through decorations, through medals. And if there's an institution, if there's a body of people who deserves the gratitude of Colombia, and my gratitude personally, is the Southern Command. And why do I say this? Because I have been a witness throughout all these years of what you have done for my country. Back in the year 2001, when General Peace was commander here, I was Minister of Finance. We were in the worst economic recession we've had in the last 80, 90 years. However, I said from that moment, we need to make a complete overhaul of our military and police institutions if we want someday to have peace. And in spite of the fiscal restraints that we had, we started a process of modernization of our armed forces, our military and our police. We started to work together very closely through Plan Colombia with the United States. The Southern Command was fundamental in the beginning of this process, and has been fundamental throughout all these years that we have been working together. Many of you might remember that Colombia was on the verge of being declared a failed state. President Clinton, the then President Clinton, went to Colombia. I was in the meeting when Plan Colombia was launched as a bipartisan foreign policy initiative. And almost 28 years later, 27 years later, we went to Washington and say this has been the most successful bipartisan foreign policy operation that the United States has launched in the recent past. And it has, because from a failed state, we are today a country that is thriving, a democracy that is every day stronger, and we are champions in economic development, in the reduction of poverty, in many of the indicators that are used today to measure how effective a democracy is. Well, this has been done through various efforts of many institutions, but one which is very important, and that was a precondition to have peace in Colombia, was our military and our police and the way we could guarantee what the Romans used to say when they invented the concept of a republic, law and order, authority, security must be the first law of any republic. If there is no security, nothing works. Well, we needed to bring back a minimum of security in Colombia to be able to go forward in our main objectives. One was peace. After 50 years of war, after 50 years of fighting the most powerful, the oldest guerrilla group in Latin America, we needed to bring them to the table, and they were not going to come to the table because they were good persons. They would come to the table if they were forced to. And we saw that way back when we started the Plan Colombia, and we started to work together with the Southern Command to be able to achieve that. And we did. We brought them to the table because we weakened them enough to bring them to the table. Every asymmetrical war today, in today's world, ends in a negotiation, no matter what, but it ends in negotiation, and that's what we did. A negotiation that was very, very, in our view and from our point of view, a very cheap negotiation, in the sense that what we sacrificed compared to what they were demanding at the beginning of the process was practically costless. And we saw the elections, the last elections, the former guerrilla commanders voting. They had given up their arms. The arms are now being melted in some monuments that are going to be installed in the United Nations in Colombia. And these people are now participating in politics, and they have been also subject to justice. They're not going to be any impunity for the war crimes and crimes against humanity that were committed. They would be punished, judged, and this is something that the world is applauding and is admiring and is studying, and this is possible. It was possible thanks to this very special relationship that we have had with the Southern Command. I have the honor and the great pleasure of being probably the only head of state of any Latin American country, and probably the only citizen that has worked with you very closely for all these years. I was Minister of Defense, and then for 4 years, and then President for 8 years. And I remember very well when I started my Ministry of Defense back in the year 2006, General Craddock was the commander, and I've been working with the commanders since then. Admiral Stavridis, we became good friends. He's now at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, one of my former universities. General Fraser, we became also very good friends. General Kelly, who's now in a very important position in the U.S. government, a great, great friend of Colombia, and now Admiral Tidd. You are now part of our team also in Colombia, and we consider you as part of Colombia already because of what you have done. So my relationship with you and what the work you have done, I've seen it, I've appreciated, I've admired it in every respect. You have helped us in constructing much more legitimacy for the armed forces through the respect for human rights, how to operate, how to win the hearts of the people. That you know that in guerrilla warfare is extremely important if we want to be successful in the intelligence operations. Intelligence was a key part of the overhaul that we made when I became Minister of Defense. At that time, the commanders of the guerrilla were going through the country like if the military did not exist. Well, that changed, and that changed very fast, and we started getting them one after the other until they sat down and negotiated a peace. The capability of the armed forces that you have been teaching us has been so successful that I'm sorry to say that in these sort of Olympics that we have, special forces that compete, now Colombia is number 1, U.S. number 2. So, sorry. We have been good students. So I just wanted to come here after all these years, as the song says, and tell you thank you. Thank you because you have been a tremendous source of support, of inspiration. You can feel very proud of what you have done. This country that was virtually a failed state now is a democracy that everybody is admiring. We still have a long way to go. We still have problems. We have a lot of work to do together, but what we have achieved together, the Southern Command, Colombia, is really something that we all can feel proud of. So I just wanted to come here, and I told the Admiral, this is something that maybe is not very usual, that a head of state comes to Southern Command and decorates the flag, but it came out of my heart because I really felt it. This is an experience that I've had that I will never forget. What I've learned from you, from all of you, because I know many of you have been working in Colombia for a long time, and the beautiful thing is that the results are there. And so I will be out of office in 3.5 months. I will be a grandfather for the first time in 2 months. I might come to Miami once in a while, so after that I will come and visit you as a normal citizen. But in the meantime, thank you very much again in the name of 50 million Colombians. Your work has benefited us tremendously, and we will never forget it. Thank you.